Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Her Excellency Laura Chinchilla, co-chair of the Concordia Leadership Council.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the third day of the Concordia Annual Summit. Today, we will have extremely interesting and wide-ranging dialogues touching upon crucial topics like artificial intelligence, technological dilemmas, and the well-being, advancement, and empowerment of youth and women. Speaking about women, we will have the opportunity to listen to the Venezuelan political leader, Maria Corina Machado. Her unwavering and inspiring fight for human rights, freedom, and democracy in Venezuela embodies the contemporary heroine, directly confronting new authoritarianisms with courage, intelligence, and determination. Also, we will have the honor to welcome to head of states the President of Panama and the Prime Minister of the Republic of Iraq. But what you see on this stage, is only the most visible part of an effort that transcends both this space and the time span of the 3 days we spend here together. When attitudes of disagreement, rupture, and polarization prevail, the Concordia Summit creates mechanisms to facilitate constructive dialogue and prospects for collaboration. We hope that you all make the most of these opportunities. Now, it is my great pleasure to introduce to the stage His Excellency Raúl Mulino, President of Panama. Thank you.
Muy buenos días.
Morning.
In
In the name of Panama, thank you so much for this invitation. We are very honored and distinguished to speak briefly regarding some topics that are of interest to our country. Without a doubt, I start with a topic that's extremely complicated and is a worldwide dilemma, which is immigration. For us, it has become a fundamental topic because of the humanitarian crisis that we need to deal with, a crisis that represents a great variety of citizens within the region and outside of it, but also a crisis that reflects the fallacy of the destroyed democracy like Venezuela that has caused a lot of migration that have come into our country. On the 12th of September, more than 500,000 people have crossed the Darien towards where? Here. The American dream. What causes me to say and reiterate in front of you today that the American frontier is not in Mexico, but in Atlantis and Panama. The cooperation is extremely important on this topic because it has different ramifications. It is motivated not only in Venezuela and Colombia, in the highest 13.5 percentage as well as others, that even though it might be surprising, India, China, recently some Nepalese, the only valid interconnection among this country in the Darien is the direct hand of organized crime in terms of the human trafficking of human beings in a mafia style. Panama is dealing with this head-on with their own resource, $100,000 each year against our national budget. We have made an accord with the U.S. with regards to repatriation, but it's not as easy as it seems, because there's much more volume of people that need to be repatriated and deported, and the difference is the people who are deported have a penal charge, which is also here, that are sought after here in Interpol and need to be sent back either to Ecuador, Colombia, which is countries that mark a median number of immigrants based on what's currently happening in Ecuador. India, a charter to Panama, 170 were repatriated, and we have one towards China. And this situation moves us, and we will speak in front of the UN. We need global comprehension from the international national. It's not just an issue in Panama. Just like Europeans are facing it in the Mediterranean, Panama faces the same thing. It is a double problem. There is a devastation, critical devastation of the climate, because all these immigrants are dirtying in their transition, not just avenues throughout the forest to Colombia, where they depart from, but it also has to do with health, because many of these people die en route, and leaves then an additional problem: small children without parents that have died through this odyssey. So imagine the dimensions of this humanitarian problem, because for the other, if there was more coherency, we would be able to gain an answer. But the humanitarian crisis that strickens us, and Panama will continue to do what we can, but the crisis in Venezuela, which is the main cause of immigration, doesn't seem to be at an end. Relatively content, Venezuela continues to be a critical problem for Panama as well as the region. And its model, which is an ill indication for the world, for those that just laugh at the popular desire and stand in a country and doesn't care what the world thinks. A world that is inconsistent when it comes to the crises that their brother country is facing. And we would be able to speak on this potent economical country in Latin America, since it is a very rich country. In this regard, in addition to the environmental threat that is heard, but little is done, are add to the risk against our country. In Darien, we have a concentration camp of the 21st century, filled with people on an average of 1,000 immigrants per day, managing in 30 or 40 boats, one after another. That even the river, not even the River Thames, has this level of movement of boats back and forth. This is something that is extremely delicate, and Panama is doing what they can at this moment. The United States, we're having a good cooperation with migration, with good security and homeland security, but we cannot do it alone. And this is a call that I give to the world. If the world truly cares about alleviating the humanitarian crisis and human trafficking across its borders. There is also another topic that brings me and will continue to bring me any place that I am welcome: the discriminatory list against Panama. For more than some years now, Panama has been an object of mistreatment with supposed friends who simply, for one reason, internal reasons, deficient in terms of its taxing, says, Panama is a central bank, least cooperative, financial paradise, which I deny, here and anywhere in the world, because we are not a fiscal paradise. Anyone that works and generates will pay taxes in Panama, and quotas very important, whether they're people or corporations. But we cannot forget that our country has to debate in an ambivalence that is absurd. A country where the users of the canal will benefit from,
where all these members of these groups participate, that puts us in a list of discrimination. We are marginalized with respect to the condition to achieve bank activities directly. Many countries don't accept money, sending money outside of those countries, and they want to tax them additionally because we're on that list. So we made an important decision, which is a priority for us. So I ask our entire diplomatic entities to have this at the top of the list. Panama will not tolerate continue to be discriminated, particularly the way it's being carried out by some countries. In this sense, Panama will not allow that any country that has us on that list can make transactions with the Panamanian government. None. You won't have access to bids or contracts with the nation for no reason. I've asked each one of my ministers to add that among the requirements that will be analyzed for any bid, there is a certification that that country does not belong to any state that has lists where we are discriminated at an international level. And much less, some of them, that they consider us in high risk in terrorism. Imagine this inconsistency in the world today. On January 1st, our country will be a part of the Security Council at the UN, and this will be a distinction for us for the sixth time for Panama. Obviously, a non-permanent member. So, you think that a country that's going to be in the Security Council in January can be included in those lists?
Y teniendo como compañeros de viaje países que sí están condenados por Naciones Unidas por actos que riñen contra la seguridad internacional, específicamente en materia de terrorismo. No voy a cansarme un minuto y haré de esto una bandera de lucha internacional de Panamá ante quien corresponda.
Panama is going to take action against whoever is responsible. So I'm going to do that. And before the General Assembly of the UN. This cannot be. It's unacceptable. And I say it from the bottom of my heart. We're a small country, but we interconnect the world. Important decisions are taken in Panama with world transcendence. In order to have a physical relationship, recently, the shipping entity crossed the Panama Canal with 17,500 containers on board. That ship, in order to go through the Panama Canal, had to cross with the lowest ocean level in order to cross. That's the impact of Panama on a country that operates at the world level. And then we were able to restore the water levels after a severe climate change that happened and affected the water levels. And that gives us the authority of the column, so we can come water from a different region, so we could inject this water to the canal. And we want to prevent that this phenomenon affects further shipping through the channel and affecting international trade. Lastly, and not less important, Venezuela. Listen, Panama, and who is talking to you now, knows perfectly what is the fight against the dictator. I was part of the leadership, very young, that fought against Manuel Antonio Noriega, looking for solidarity all over the world. And Venezuela, back then, Carlos Andrés Pérez, a democratic president, was the person that gave us together with Alfonso Mikelsen
y el presidente Oscar
and
Arias de
Caray
Costa
from
Rica,
Costa Rica,
un apoyo
unconditional
incondicional
support
siempre, en todo
at
momento,
every
para
point
restablecer la
supported
lucha
us to
y la
reestablish the
vigencia
fight
de la democracia en nuestro país.
for democracy
Pero eso no
in
es
our
solo
country.
el por qué estamos adoptando
And
esta
that's why we're
postura tan
adopting
dura
this
con relación a
posture
Venezuela.
against
Panamá
Venezuela.
rompió
Panama
relaciones,
broke
no
relations,
tiene ninguna
has no
oficina
consular
consular ni
office or
diplomática ni en
diplomatic
Venezuela ni los
in
venezolanos en
Venezuela,
Panamá y suspendió toda la
and
comunicación
suspended
aérea desde el aeropuerto
all
internacional de Tocumen.
communications and air travel
Es lo que
with
podemos hacer. A
Venezuela.
otros les tocará
This is
hacer
what we
otra cosa,
must do.
quizás de más
Others need
impacto.
to do other things that may have a
Pero
broader
habiendo sido
impact.
Panamá un país
But
víctima de dictadura,
Panama has been victimized by
es
dictators.
imposible que
It's
el mundo
impossible
tolere a
that
una
the world
persona que
tolerates
desconozca
a
los
person
resultados de
that
una elección a la que
does
se
not
comprometió
recognize
obedecer, defraudando
results of an election
la
that they
libertad
claim we're going to
del sufragio
respect
y el principio
and the
inalienable
inalienable
de soberanía popular.
aspect
Por ello,
of
nuestra
popular
actitud.
sovereignty.
Yo he tenido
That's why
una buena
we've
relación, me
had
alegra mucho que
a
vayan a
good
conversar con María
conversation
Corina Machado
with
en el día de
Corina
hoy.
Machado
Ella
from
les dará
today.
la actualización que yo no
She
tengo,
has been updated
pero ha
more
demostrado
than
una
me, but
gran
she has
valentía
shown
a
great
pesar de que
courage,
está en
even though
condiciones muy
they are in
precarias respecto a su
precarious
seguridad
conditions
en
about
Venezuela.
her security in
Pero sí
Venezuela,
les digo algo, yo tengo
the
mucha fe
opposing party in
en que
Venezuela.
el próximo
I
enero
have a lot of faith that in
tome posición
January,
el presidente electo
the
de Venezuela,
Venezuelan
Raimundo González, que se encuentra hoy en
president-elect
Madrid,
will take office, who is
asilado
now
por temor a su vida y su integridad personal y
in
por supuesto
Spain,
de su
and
familia.
he has to be there because of
Panamá
the security of himself and his
Sigue en la
family.
esquina de María Corina
Panama
Machado.
continues in the corner of Ana Corina
Eso no va a
Machado.
variar.
This will not change.
Y por
And of
supuesto,
course,
le deseo
I
a
wish
ella,
her
al
and
pueblo
to the
venezolano,
Venezuelan people
que
that
esa gran dama de la
that great
esperanza venezolana
woman of
siga
the
allí
Venezuelan hope
liderando
continues
las
to be
fuerzas
there,
opositoras
leading
mayoritarias de ese país.
the major opposing
Panamá está pagando una
force
consecuencia de
in
esa
that
crisis,
country.
como dije al inicio de mis palabras.
67% of migrants
vienen de ese
come
país.
from Venezuela.
Y
And
aunque ha
even
bajado el
though
flujo
the influx has
de
diminished
migrantes
of
cerca de un
migrants, about
20%
20%
respecto
down
del año
with
anterior,
respect to the previous year,
si la crisis
with
se llega a
the great
agudizar,
crisis
nosotros seremos
worsens,
recipientes de
we're
más
going to
y
be
más y
receiving
más
more and more
venezolanos
Venezuelans
que
that
tendrán
will
que seguir
have to
transitando porque no
continue
podemos repatriarlos a Venezuela por
transiting
no tener
through
acceso nuestros aviones al
our
espacio aéreo
space.
venezolano.
We don't have enough
Así que esa gente viene
airplanes
para
to
acá
send them back to Venezuela. So they're
en
going to
busca del sueño
reach the
americano,
U.S.
razón
seeking
suficiente
the American dream.
para que
That's
quien
an
quiera
enough
gane la
reason.
presidencia
So
de este
whoever
país
wins the presidency
voltee un
in this
momento a ver
country
hacia sus vecinos
takes a look to their
en
neighbors
América
in
Latina,
Latin America,
sobre todo allí
particularly
en la
in
frontera
that
con Darién,
the Darien Gap
la
border,
situación
the
crítica
critical
en que se
situation
encuentra esa región del
that
país
region of
que
the
nos atañe
country
a nosotros. Mi
lives.
conversación ayer con el presidente
Yesterday
Pedro
with President Pedro
acá en
here
Naciones
at the
Unidas
United
fue
Nations
muy
was very
productiva.
productive.
Ahora
Now
vamos a un
So
un
now we are
entorno
going to
un poquito
a
más
much more
técnico,
technical
que es
environment,
todo el
which is
tema
the
ambiental, y
environmental
tendremos
topic, and we
próximamente
will be having
reunión
a
tripartita de
three-party
ministros relacionados al ambiente,
meeting with regarding the
porque
climate
el
because the
daño
ecological damage
a
to
nuestro
our
Darién
Darien is immense.
Es una selva
It is
que cada
a
vez más se
jungle
afecta,
that is
pero
affected more and more, but
indirectamente
indirectly the
La
region
región se
is
afecta por
affected
ser el
because
pulmón de
it is
América
the
Latina
lungs of Latin
después
America.
de Brasil.
So
Así que
we
sí
do
tenemos
have a
muchísimo
lot
todavía por delante,
to accomplish,
pero
but
esas
these
cosas
things
no se
are not
sienten.
felt.
Pero hay
But there's
toneladas de
a
basura
ton
a
of
lo largo y
garbage
ancho de todos
along
los ríos
the
que se
rivers
usan
that are
para
used to
cruzar
cross
de
from
Colombia
Colombia
a
to
Panamá
Panama
y
and
hacia
towards
Estados
the
Unidos,
U.S.
que nos
That
afectan
affects us greatly,
tremendamente y que
and
pondremos el grito en
we
el cielo cada vez que
say
nos
we will be
permitan los
saying
auditorios del
time and
mundo
time again if
llevar
the
adelante
world
este mensaje.
auditors allow us to.
Panamá
Panama
entiende
understands
y
and
valora
values
la solidaridad
international
internacional.
solidarity.
Sin
Without
esa
this
solidaridad no
solidarity, we
tuviéramos
would
el
not
canal
have
panameño
the
hoy.
Panama Canal.
Bueno, yo
I
apelo al mundo
appeal
nuevamente en
to the world
solidaridad
for international solidarity so
para que
that
tengan
you
presten
close
mucha
attention
atención con la
with the
crisis que
crisis
estamos
that we are
teniendo ahí,
currently experiencing.
que no es
It's
nuestra
not
de
really
Panamá,
ours,
la
it
tiene
is
el
the
mundo
world's
entero por
for
distintas otras
various
razones,
reasons,
pero
but it
crisis
is a
humanitarias aquí,
humanitarian crisis
como puede
nonetheless,
dar fe de ello
like
Italia,
has
como
been
pueden
in
dar fe
Italy and in other
otros
countries
países de
in
Europa
Europe
que
that
se
have felt
afectan en el
affected
Mediterráneo por
by
el
the
flujo de
influx of
personas
people
desde el
from
África,
Africa,
todas vinculadas a
all
crimen
towards
internacional del tráfico.
illegal
Y siendo
human
este
trafficking
mes un
around the
mes
world.
contra
And this
eso,
month
pues,
is the month
creo
dedicated
que
to that.
hago bien
And my
el esfuerzo
efforts
como
as
presidente
President
de
of
Panamá
Panama
de llevar
to
esta voz
echo
alta, este
this
mensaje alto y
clear
claro
message and loudly to all the groups. And I give thanks to Concordia for this meeting so that we know a little bit closer about what is happening more beyond Fifth Avenue of New York, and it has to do with the emotional tranquility of many, many people throughout the world. Thank you very much in Panama, the Panamanian people. I am here to serve, and it has been a great pleasure to be here this morning for this month of September in New York and speaking with such important people. I am very grateful. Thank you. I know there's no questions, so I bid adieu. Goodbye.